Well of Blood, really good skill if you want to help your ally team support healing. I usually cast this when we are sieging a tower, and it really helps keep them alive, especially because of the life field. Every time there's a projectile attack, it will remove a bunch of conditions from the allies in the area, so it's a really useful skill for that purpose. And also the healing is obviously not so shabby. I mean, every second they will get, all the allies will get healed for 700 something health in my case, and the initial self health was almost 7,000, so yeah, not too bad. But for if I just want to heal myself, to be honest, it's not as good as the Minion, the Blood Minion, but because in World vs. World you want to help your ally, you want to support your ally, so Well of Blood is my standard healing skill. It's the best. Now I'm gonna talk about Death Shroud skill. So let's talk about this one, Life Transfer. It's pretty decent for AoE skill. You hit a bunch of targets, but unfortunately, it, in World vs. World, it often get interrupted because it lasts. You need to hold that position for like what, 3 seconds. In the meantime, you cannot dodge, you can't do anything, you can only walk around, and yeah, there's so many things that can interrupt you. It's not even funny, so it's really hard to pull that thing off, like pull the full damage off. Or like I talked about the healing that you can have early. Remember the oh, not this one, where is it, oh, the transfusion, right? Same thing. Often when I in the middle of the transfusion, I'll get interrupted, so the healing doesn't go full. So unfortunately, transfusion is not as reliable as definitely invigoration. If I have to pick one of them, I'll pick deadly invigoration every time, especially when this trait I increase also heal myself on top of not just the allies. So let's talk about the Lick skill, which is the Doom, which is really straightforward. You just go in and out of DS and use Doom, and it will free the target away from you. And yeah, useful for any situation. Either maybe the target is going to have a high blast damage against you, and then you use that free to interrupt his high blast damage, assuming he doesn't have stability. Or yeah, you can use that to chase someone even, because like when you free them, they cannot use any of their lip skill, for example. They cannot use those lip skill to get away, so they were just running away from you, so it helps in that situation too. Really good skill to use. Next skill is the Dark Path. Basically, you cast this skill and it will breathe, chill, and teleport you to the target, like so. Let's just go right to it, man. You can do whatever you want. You can follow up with maybe dagger attacks or whatever, right? The point is to get near them. Unfortunately, in a World vs. World, the only time you use this skill is you're chasing one guy down, and other than that, there's no reason why you want to teleport yourself to a whole circle of enemy. It's just pretty much suicide, especially you don't have any way to escape, and you don't really have like heavy armor, something like warriors have, so you can't really tank the damage that well. So yeah, really limited use in a World vs. World, unfortunately. The next skill of Death Shroud is the auto attack, the Life Blast. So it's really straightforward. You have more life force, it does more damage for you. So really good if you are in a power build, because it increases your base power, it hurts more, and on a power critical build is really awesome skill. Unfortunately, if you condition damage Necromancer, it doesn't help you lead as much, because it doesn't give a condition, like it doesn't bleed for you, it doesn't poison for you, it's just pure physical damage, so it's limiting there, unfortunately. But yeah, so it depends on your build how useful that skill is, but you gotta use it either way. I mean, it's just there. So now I'm gonna talk about utility skills. Let's start with Blood is Power. So really straightforward. You get Mage, you bleed your food, and you get some self bleeding, which you can use whatever skills to transfer to the enemy. So this is a really good skill because it benefits both power user and a condition damage user. It benefits everybody in one way or another. That's why, because of how versatile this skill is, it's really good. Corrosive Poison Cloud, pretty decent skill for witless mostly. Poison is good too, but it's the secondary effect I actually found is a witless that counts, because in World vs. World, you cast this successfully, you shut down a bunch of Zerg, they all get releases, and if they stay there for more than 1 second, they get longer than 3 second releases, whatever how many seconds they stay in there. So really good for shutting down a bunch of Zerg, especially useful when Zerg versus Zerg fight head on. You cast this at the path of the enemy Zerg's movement, and you give them all releases, and it reduces the damage, and then you can, of course, you match this with your plague, like I said earlier, further shut them down. So yeah, decent skill to use in a world versus world. Epidemic ranges from useful to useless in world versus world depending on situation. Really useful in a tower defense or even attacking a tower, because you can get condition on the enemy and then you cast this to spread it to other enemies. So especially when you use a staff with the greater marks, you can bleed the enemy with 3 stacks of bleed, and you academic that same target, you can bleed pretty much everyone around the area for 6 stacks of bleed, because it's bleed and bleed again. That's how it works. So it's really great in that purpose. However, in Zerg versus Zerg 40 versus 40 type of fight, the game is just, for me at least, is just way too laggy to select one individual enemy that happen to have a lot of condition and spread all those conditions. It's just too laggy. The cooling, you can't see the enemy. There's so much problem with that. So not useful in a Zerg versus Zerg head-on fight. Corr boom, I would have to say, is useless in a world versus world. Like I said, lag cooling, it's just really impossible to select one single enemy with a lot of wound on him and you change them all into conditions. I mean, yes, there is cases where you can use this, but I personally won't. It's just not worth it. And they have a 40-second cooldown, which is not that much better than, let's say, Well of Corruption. Like, I mean, it's traded, it's always usually 45-second recharge, but I would use Well of Corruption over Corr boom anytime. Special armor, useless. The recharge is way too long. The protection and the recharge doesn't match at all, so I never use this skill, no matter PvE or world versus world. Special grabs, it's okay. Well, I mean, you can pull guys off the tower. You can, in a Zerg versus Zerg fight, maybe pull a weak guy to you to catch them easier, but I personally think there's far better utility to take than this one, and this skill always often misses out of range. A bunch of things not reliable, even if it hits, but sometimes the target doesn't pull all the way or get pulled and stopped by a walk or whatever. There's so many things that can go wrong with this skill, so I personally don't bother with this. Special or really good skill for a team buff for protection, because it doesn't have any target limit. You have 60 guys in your Zerg, all 60 guys go through it, all will get protection. It's great. So it's really simple. Like your commander is good stack all together, and then before you guys charge in, you just cast this and everyone will run through it and everyone get protection. Really good skill in a Zerg versus Zerg fight. Spectral walk, really good skill for hit and run. You can even use this to jump off from really high cliffs, and if just before you land you tap this skill again, it will reset the high falling counter, so you won't die. You will just take minimal damage from that fall. Yeah, really useful for hit and run. You can even use this to jump down from towers, fight for a bit, and then go back up to the tower. It will teleport you directly to where you were before you cast a skill. So low obstacle, low distance could stop you. It's really interesting. For example, I'll try, like, let's pretend you see a bunch of enemies down under the tower, so you cast Spectral Walk, you go down, you fight for X seconds, however your trait allows you, then you go back right onto it, right? And of course you can use this as a genuine tower defense, where you just cast Special Walk before you enter the portal of the tower. Okay, here you go through the gate and then you fight outside for a bit, and then you tap and have the alternative and you go right back into the tower, safe and sound. So that kind of thing, really useful for hit and run. So now let's get into our Signet. Unfortunately most of them are useless. Signet or Spec, I mean, increased power, good, but honestly the recharge way too long, so all it does is give you power, that's it. The active effect is pretty much useless. Signet of the Locust, useful as a passive one-link skill. Unfortunately the active healing is not really useful because the recharge is way too high. I mean, my healing power is already really good, and 1000 healing per fold up to 5 folds won't help you. If you're in the middle of 5 enemies, 5000 health goes down in a second, so it's not useful at all in my opinion. Pledge Signet, decent Signet for getting condition from your allies to yourself, and then you can get with it or transfer to your enemies. Unfortunately, this Signet is bugged, especially in World vs World. It doesn't really drain all the condition of allies around you, and that's what's required for this to be used for it. Also, since it's bugged, it's reliable. I don't personally take it. Signet of Undeath is the best Signet of the 4 because it allows you to resurrect up to 3 allies in an area that's decently big. So yes, you can see a pretty big area. So yeah, it's really useful in World vs World as PvP to allow you to rest your allies. Unfortunately, if your ally is already dead, it won't work. It only affects the still surviving allies. And the passive is really core. The life for generation is only like 1% every 3 seconds. That's roughly I think like 400 health or whatever, 200 health. Yeah, let me turn it good. Assuming you have around 20,000 health, it's like 200 health every 3 seconds, which is almost nothing. So the passive is really weak. The active is pretty useful. Now let's move on to Minions. Summon Bone Minions, one of my favorite Minion skills because it allows you to use Perfect Explosion, which blows up those 2 minions in the face of the enemy, which is dealing massive damage. You can even trade it so it does an additional 30% on the explosion. Really useful. The problem with Bone Minions is that they tend to die really quickly unless you trade for the extra 50% health, or you buff them somehow. So like for me, when I use them, I usually will buff them with Special Wall, which gives them protection as they charge an enemy. Like you see here, I'm gonna hit this target here, wave till they go to an enemy, and then I cast a wall, give them a buff, protection, reduce their damage by 33%, and then I can successfully blow up in their faces. So we have massive damage as you can see, and I didn't even trade for that 30%, so it would have done 30% even more damage. So yeah, very highly devastating skill to use. So now let's talk about the Bone Fiend. It's a really good minion for constant DPS because it attacks from range and it attacks pretty rapidly. So even if the enemy manages to avoid your attack, it will hit in the next time. I'll show you how rapidly it attacks. Okay, so you just get to a target and you start hitting them. Okay, there you go. So 1 hit, 2 hit. It's pretty fast, pretty rapid. The problem with it though, the immobilization, you can only use it once every 50 seconds, and it's really hard to make sure that particular hit actually lands and hit the enemy, so it's not really reliable, and the lateral crippling effect only applies once every, I think, 10 seconds or 10 hits, whatever, and it's not that reliable either. So yeah, so useful for DPS, don't use this for slaying. Shadow Fiend, really decent minion skill. It attacks from melee range. To compensate for that, it have more health than the Bone Fiend. There's advantage and disadvantage for being a melee minion. The advantage is you can use the Special Wall as a charge to enemy to give it a buff for extra protection. It also benefit more from a Death Rover because like Death Rover, when the minion dies, it blows up poison crowd for the enemies around it, and because it's melee, it usually will blow up leader enemy, versus the Bone Fiend, when it blows up, it can be anywhere because it's attacking from range anyway. So that's the advantage of that. The disadvantage of the melee minion is obviously it doesn't have any speed buff. Like none of the minions have an inside speed buff, so it will have a hard time catching an enemy and hitting them. So the damage is not as consistent as the Bone Fiend. So the Shadow Minion, the alternative skill is a teleportation skill, which I believe have like 1,200 range. So that's a range limit, I think. So let's say I use this skill. Yeah, so there is a range limit of around 1,200-ish. So but after that, it's really good when you charge into your enemy and you use this skill. Like I'll just quickly show you in a few seconds, just 3 more seconds. So in a struck fight, you see a struck on pad way, you just start looking them, and then you teleport into them, you keep looking them. that kind of thing. So yeah, pretty useful, depending on what you do with it.